is now the US-Iran conflict, which has spiraled into one of the most dangerous military confrontations in the Middle East in recent years. And night after night, both sides have traded strikes at the Strait of Hormuz that has remained at the center of a global concern. The United States has now launched a fresh wave of military strikes against Iran for the 10th straight night, targeting capabilities that Washington says have been used to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So the reports now have been suggesting that mediators, meanwhile, have proposed at least a 10-day ceasefire between Iran and the United States in a fresh effort to de-escalate the conflict and also to revive diplomatic negotiations. Now, this proposal conveyed to Tehran through intermediaries seeks a temporary halt to military strikes to create a space for restoring an interim agreement that can be reached between Iran and the US last month. However, that agreement, did not last at all. So we are now looking at the peace understanding that failed. And this is what we are now looking at as far as the latest pictures that have now been coming in, with the United States also launching these fresh strikes, as Donald Trump has now been warning retaliation for the death of the US soldiers that were killed in Jordan. So at the same time, Tehran also saying that diplomatic messages were still being exchanged by both sides through intermediaries despite the collapse of the ceasefire. But for the US Central Command, which has said on X that the latest strikes had hit Iranian military command centers, maritime capability, missiles and drone launch sites, and also air defense systems. So the commercial vessels that have been, as far as their passage is concerned, have been affected mainly through the Strait of Hormuz. And however, at least casualties right after the peace deal failed on the American side that has now been reported, with the third service member who had earlier reported missing in action after the attack. But it seems that when it comes to the other areas as well, in the Gulf region, which holds military bases of the United States, they too have come under repeated attacks. Kuwait's armed forces say that they intercepted Iranian drones. Bahrain also saying that drones launched by Iran that had targeted its air navigation systems, but the traffic remains unaffected. Meanwhile, we are looking at the Iranian state media reports have also saying that they are now coming out with this retaliation against the United States of America, and it will only become harsher. So let's connect with Mayank on this. Mayank, what we are now looking at the situation that has been unfolding, because it's getting even more aggressive by the day. The 2 US soldiers who have been killed is something which the retaliation and retribution that is being vowed by President Trump.
See, with the ambit of operations shifting, because Jordan was the new operational base on which Iran had started attacking, and we heard the news that 2 soldiers who lost their life there, and also there were people who got injured, we got to know earlier. And in this case, what is happening is actually the way the sighting of the operational bases from the US has changed. And I'm talking about Jordan, to be specific about it. And then after that, we had seen, and we had been bringing out the news about how the various bases which were scattered around Strait of Hormuz, which included Qatar, Hamas, Bahrain, Kuwait and even Saudi Arabia in that case. So what we see is actually both the sides are using their intelligence to not only knock off or to destroy the sightings or the places which are being used to launch offensive operations. And Iran has been also trying to not only, for them, wider bases are there, which becomes very important retaliation points. So this, the other point and significant point is actually the missile capability which we see from the Iran, which was often quoted that it has been destroyed or it has been brought down to an extent that it will come down,
yes,
has not happened. So what we are going to see is actually this tit for tat continuing, and there won't be let up in the recent future, Amita.
Absolutely, because that seems to be the very point that the ceasefire collapsed, and both sides that have been issuing and trading threats at each other. But 10th consecutive night that we are now looking at, because that is how, day by day, the strikes on part of the United States that have been unrelenting. But if we talk about Iranian retaliation, that has also continued. Let's put out that breaking update. Iranian missile and drone attacks that have also triggered air raids sirens across Jordan, while Kuwait says that its air defense systems have been intercepting hostile projectiles following what it calls as Iranian aggression. Meanwhile, Jordan's military says that it has shot down multiple missiles with no reported casualties. But the expanding theater of conflict once again has raised fears of a broader regional war, even as the fragile diplomatic efforts continue in the background. So that seems to be coming in from the Kuwait army, which have come out to say that the armed forces saying that they had intercepted several of the Iranian drones. And basically, when it comes to in Kuwait and Bahrain, the US military bases have come under repeated attacks. So Bahrain also saying that the drones that had been launched by Iran had targeted its air navigation systems, but the traffic that continues to remain unaffected. And what we are now looking at as far as the pictures that have been coming in from Jordan's military also saying that it had shot down multiple Iranian missiles as the sirens sounded across the country of warning of incoming fire. So the conflict which is now... So let's take a look exactly what Kuwait army is saying, because they have been saying that Kuwait air defenses that have been working to confront hostile missiles and drone attacks following the sinful Iranian aggression. They also go on to say that the General Staff of the Army notes that if explosion sounds are heard, then that means that they are intercepting hostile attacks, and everyone is kindly expected to adhere the security and safety instructions that have been issued by competent authorities. So such kind of advisories that are also issued by other countries in the Gulf and their military. I mean, we are now looking at a situation, Mayank, because again, for now, it seems to be restricted to these countries. There are other countries as well in the area which previously have also come under attack. But for now, it seems that Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, Iraq, these are where we are looking at repeated attacks.
Four countries which you have counted is actually the general operations which have been launched from the US side is coming from that side only. This is what it signifies actually. So what, in this case, what is being done is actually wherever the operation originates, both sides are trying to collect intelligence about it or to have a signal intelligence about it, and they are following that trail only. So in this case, what we understand is that Iran is trying to at least strike those places which are being used for offensive purposes. And the other point is what we talked about, the air defense umbrella, which triggers off immediately as soon as a projectile is launched from one side or the other side. And these sides, which is the four countries which we counted, are using the umbrella and the air defenses which are from the US side. Thus, they trigger off as soon as something is launched from the Iranian side, because there are something like homers and seekers, which is like radars. They function and immediately they pick up anything which is being fired or which has been launched from the Iranian side. This is what exactly is leading to the firing of air defense umbrella, and in that case, they track down the missiles or they track down the projectiles and try to destroy them within the air only.
Yes.
And what can at maximum happen instead of the impact which happens on meeting the goal, the missiles are destroyed in the air only. And maximum destruction can happen with the debris which falls on the locations which are below those meeting points. So what you see, Amita, exactly the same is happening. As soon as something is launched from the Iranian side,
well, we'll see if both sides actually agree to hold, another round of talks, because the intermediaries are now wanting that at least a 10-day ceasefire in the initial side begin from both sides as they come to a same page. Thank you very much, Mayank, for joining in live here on the broadcast. We're going to head into a very short break. The morning news are coming up on the other side.